Call the meeting to order. Additional agenda and consent items. I'd like to add an executive session at the end for a quick discussion about personnel. If we could all stay at the end for an executive session, is there any, do I have a consensus on that? Or I guess maybe a motion is probably in order, right?
Yes, motion.
I'll move to add a consensus, an executive session to the end of this evening's agenda.
Paul, I'll make yours the second, as Roseanne was in before you. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Are there any abstentions? Okay. Additional,
Mark. Should we put the reason why or just the
I
executive
did put
session?
the reason I put the reason as personnel issues.
Thank
We'll
you.
put that at the end. Okay.
Okay,
I'm sorry
thank you.
that wasn't clear enough. Delegations. Any delegations this evening? Anyone like to speak to the Board of Selectmen? If so, you have to unmute yourself and jump up and down, or just butt in and start talking. On Zoom is a little difficult. Okay. Someone's making a little noise here. I think it's you, Sandy. Why don't you go back on mute? That'd be great. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the last meeting, December 2nd.
This is Kevin Siri. I'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes of December 2nd, 2020 as submitted.
Mark Salerno, second.
Motion and seconded. Any further comments? Other corrections? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. The consent calendar is part of our packet tonight.
This is Kevin Siri. I'll move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of December 16, 2020, in the amount of $3,557.25.
I'll second.
Second.
Mark, if you haven't, Mr. Salerno, if you haven't seen that, you're listed on this.
I will abstain. Thank you.
Want to make sure you saw that.
Yep.
So I'll take, we have a motion that's been seconded. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Mark, any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. Just what we do, right? So we'll go right into the, well, I guess it's called old business. Maybe it's really new business. The authorization of the expenditure from the Parahouse account. This is, you know, of course, that generous Parahouse account we have at the senior center and the senior, I'm sorry, what are they called? What's your commission called?
The Commission on
Commission
Aging.
on Aging.
Thank you. Commission on Aging. I couldn't get that out tonight. So they of course always approve anything coming to us, and then we give the final approval. That's how it was set up. Kathy, I'll leave it to you to explain. It's pretty self-explanatory what you wrote up for us, but why don't you just give us a rundown of what you're looking for tonight? Very quick.
So I'm looking for two expenditures. One is for up to $1,000, but it is unlikely I'll spend that much. That is for a tablet for the senior center, for using it for Zoom programming. I've been bringing in my personal iPad as we've been bringing programs back online. So many of my instructors have their own Zoom accounts and have their own tablets, but there are several that do not. And this way we can bring in more of our instructors and or volunteer facilitators for programming. So that's expenditure number one. And then expenditure number two is for what they call HEPA filters for my 3 vehicles. And this was a suggestion from Matthew Buses, which is the vendor that we purchase our vehicles from. It's a filter that will go on the ceiling of each vehicle, and it filters the air, and there's also an ultraviolet light, our UVC lamp, a photocatalyst. So it's just an additional way to sort of keep our vehicles clean for our passengers and our staff as we're transporting people. Up to this point, we've been keeping the windows open because that's always the big thing, is have airflow, but you know, we're sort of moving into the time period where we can't do that, so.
Right. And I know you did ask about maybe coming from a capital account first. So, you know, trying to preserve the Parahouse account, but
Right.
here, we're down to the end of every nickel and dime these days because of all that's going on. We appreciate the Commission on Aging stepping up on this, and I think it's a good situation. That $1,000, are you done with your presentation?
Well, yeah, the last thing was that I did speak with the town garage. They can install these things, so there's not going to be any type of installation phase. Just we got to purchase the part, so our parts.
Terrific.
Some of these filters require maintenance, filter change. I don't know how many stages this one has, but has that been looked at? And are you going to have to replace the filters at some periodicity?
Right. What we've been told is every 6 months they should be looked at and/or replaced. And it's about I think it's about a $50 fee for the filter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that is my ex officio, Mark. And I was at the meeting, the board, the commission discussed this, I think, at 2 different meetings. And my feeling is that this is a tough year. We've got unexpected expenditures, but I think that the maintenance of the vehicles, I believe, should come out of the town funds and not out of the Para-House Fund. The Para-House Fund was set up and it was supposed to be to help seniors. And admittedly, cleaning of the buses is something that does, of course, protect the health at this time of the passengers, but I feel that this should be, after this year, I think that this should go into the town expenditures and come out of the town budget.
The filters and general maintenance, is that what you're saying, Roseanne?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Going forward, absolutely. Kathy, I'll just point out to my business, we bought 10 Chromebooks. These are not tablets, but almost, they're between a laptop and a tablet. They're smaller and they've been wonderful so far. We bought them as a solution for work at home when, should and when COVID comes through, our business and we have to work from home. They've proven to be pretty nifty. You may want to look into that. The tablets tend to be more money than these cheap laptops that they're putting out. And as long as there's a camera and a microphone on there, you may want to look at that. And I think these things cost me $200 a pop.
I'll take a look at it. We had looked at a Samsung Galaxy Tab, which is about $260, and then I thought, but I wanted one that had a bigger screen. I don't want the little mini. That's a little too difficult if an instructor is trying to teach a class. And then I thought I would also get a keyboard that we could attach to it. I find it easier because all of us work so much on desktops and or laptops that when you go to something that's a touch screen, it's a little bit funkier to maneuver. So.
Yeah, the Chromebooks is actually a regular laptop with a keyboard and a thing, but the screens are a little small. So you do what's best for you. I just want to throw that out there as a helpful hint.
Okay.
I don't even know if you can buy them because everybody's been working from home. So they were a hot commodity a couple months ago when we were looking into it. Any other comments? It's kind of a cut and go.
Well, how about if we approve the expenditure and then if Kathy wants to check out, come down to Town Hall or have one of the Chromebooks sent up to the commission, then she and her aide could check that out and see if they are equal to what the tablets would be and if there's any cost savings. But I agree that she needs to evaluate and do what's best because there'll be a variety of people using it rather than just a single user. So
Right.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to help you, Kathy, if you need that help and assistance in picking something out. The request is up to 1,000. So whatever works for you, Kathy, up to 1,000.
I don't anticipate spending that much money, but I wasn't sure. I looked at the iPads, and of course the Apple products tend to be a little more expensive, but I'm probably not going that way. So.
And they don't integrate well with the town computers, which are not Apple.
Right.
There you go. So very good. I'll be happy to help at any point.
Okay, thank you.
There's smarter people than me on this call when it comes to computers as well. Any other comments, questions? If not, we can take a
This is
motion.
Kevin Turner. I'll move to authorize the use of up to $3,000 from the Powerhouse account, $1,000 to purchase a tablet for use at the senior center to support Zoom programs, and $2,000 to purchase one HEPA filter per senior center vehicle.
It's three filters, one filter for each vehicle.
That's what it says, 2,000 to purchase one. Okay, so it's how much, 3,000?
It's 2,000 to purchase 3 HEPA filters.
Yes,
So
what it
it's
says, and 2,000 to purchase one HEPA filter per senior center vehicle.
There you go. There you go. Yep.
Mark Salerno, I will second that.
Marcus seconded that. Any other comments? Good work. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed
Aye.
to this? Are there any opposed to this motion? Are there any abstentions? Okay, thank you, Kathy. I know you're on a little vacation break. Shh. You're calling, you're doing extra duties. I appreciate it. Have a good Christmas if I don't talk to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Going back up to our agenda, the next is a discussion and hopeful action of the Cheney Park fishing dock leases. We did have a subcommittee formed who didn't meet. You want to give us a report? Is there you want to bring us up to date and then lead us to where you'd like us to go?
Sure. I'll start. So we did meet. We met twice. Once November, and we met a week ago. Once we received all the applications, you should have all the applications in your packet. We had 4 applications. 2 were for renewals, so existing leaseholders, and then 2 new applications. We went through and we compared each one to our selection criteria. We unanimously approved recommending to the Board of Selectmen to continue the lease of Mike Skepsky. He met almost all the requirements. He's an existing leasee down there. And we've had no problems with him. He's definitely full-time operations down there. Not a resident, but everything else, he meets the charter fishing, and we recommend continuing his lease. When it came, we looked at the second lease, we did not come to a conclusion. We reviewed the existing leaseholder. A couple things came up on that one. We weren't sure if he was an East Lyme resident, which doesn't necessarily matter, but on a few applications, it looked, he submitted that he was, although his insurance indicates that he lives in Old Saybrook. He did not use the dock regularly this year. COVID was used as a reason. Let's see. We're not sure that it's a full-time operation. We don't believe it's a full-time operation. We also had 2 other applications. One from East Lyme, Joel Liza, commercial fishing, and Robert Russell from Waterford, commercial fishing. Both excellent applications. We reviewed their criteria against, their applications against our criteria. They both met the criteria for commercial fishing as we're trying to balance that. We're also, the only difference was Liza was an East Lyme resident. So we had a pretty thorough debate between whether to continue with M&M Fisheries with the leaseholder as the leaseholder of the second dock, or go to new. The one concern was we have existing leasee that has paid fees on time, provided reasonable maintenance to docks, no substantial written complaints. We weren't sure that it was used regularly. It certainly wasn't this year. Good upkeep of site, yes. So one concern was, should we continue, if they meet the criteria, should we continue with the leaseholder? That was the opinion of some of the members. The other opinion with mine, where these aren't not lifetime appointments, We don't feel like it's being fully used to its full extent. We have no East Lyme residents there that have a lease. We did have two good applications. One is an East Lyme resident. In my opinion, and Dan could give his take, was that these aren't lifetime leases. I feel the town would be better served with Joel Liza. He's a full-time fisherman. He provided all the information. I'll just note we had all the information on income and stuff like that from everyone except for M&M Fisheries. So we're not really sure if it is full-time or not. We didn't really get any evidence of that. All the other ones provided income statements, very thorough applications. So we couldn't come to a consensus, and then we just decided, this is too important. We down-selected commission down-selected to 2, M&M and Joel, although Russell's application was very good, but the only thing difference was the East Lyme residency. And we've decided to bring it back to the commission to make the final decision instead of just picking one or the other that we were kind of on the fence for. Dan, would you like to add some background from our conversation, if you'd like? And Paul.
Dan.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go.
So my feeling was, when you have a lease and you have a tenant, unless there's really good cause to not renew someone's lease, I think it's somewhat arbitrary and capricious to not renew them for another year if they've been a good citizen by paying the rent as they're supposed to all the time they were being late with their lease payment, taking care of the site, not causing any problems. And both of the current tenants that are there have not caused any trouble and not received any complaints that I'm aware of. So I don't see any just cause really not to renew the leases. As much as I would love to see an East Lyme resident have that opportunity, we have a very limited resource, and I just don't think it's the right thing to do to not renew someone's lease that's been there for a while and relies on it and hasn't done anything wrong. That's my piece.
So what I'll add is that we couldn't get a consensus around balancing good tenant vice a tenant who does more of a full-time business through commercial fishing and was an East Lyme resident as compared to the current tenant who was not an East Lyme resident. And we jointly felt that it shouldn't be just one member of the subcommittee throwing the deciding vote, that it was more incumbent upon all of us to assess our individual feelings on good longtime tenant as compared to a more productive use of the limited resources we have down there by a full-time business owner and someone who happens to live in town. So that's why we decided to come and share the pluses and minuses of both those applicants as we, the subcommittee, met and opened the floor to questions or opinions that the rest of the board members may have.
Thank you, 3 of you, for serving, for looking over these applications and trying to make some sense of it. Do the other members, or I guess there's Kevin and there's Roseanne and then myself. So Kevin, do you have any opinion? You've looked over
the concern I have is Mr. Liza and Mr. Stepsky both provided information, tax information indicating that it obviously is a full-time business of theirs. And we did not get that from the Mr. Beebe, who's currently there. And, and that was something requested. It wasn't as if that isn't something that they asked for. So we have that there. And, I understand a good tenant and so forth like that. But one of the things we've tried to talk about in the past is making this as much of an asset or resource for people who are possibly town residents. if someone's been there and, we have Mr. Tepsky, we have the information and it shows that, yeah, this is his full-time, no question about it being his profession. And same thing with Mr. Lizza. Mr. Lizza is a resident of town and, he is a professional fisherman. So I do lean a little bit towards Mr. Lizza in that case over Mr. Beebe, even though he's been there for a while. That's my own opinion.
Roseanne, do you want to? You don't have to, but
Well, I lean towards favoring the town resident. And I understand that we do have someone who has been there and been a good tenant. But again, it is, it's East Lyme property. And I think anytime we can help an East Lyme resident, then if it's a toss-up, we go with the East Lyme resident.
thank you all. I'll throw my 2 cents in. It seems like, and from what I've seen, the application from Mr. Beebe wasn't completed, and we didn't get the paperwork that we asked for in evaluating his lease. And I think that's a hard stop right there. We're looking for that information. We are, more so than paying your rent on time, I think it's very important that we're looking for tenants who are making their living this way. And I think that was the whole purpose of doing these way back when, is to, if not create a fishing fleet, but definitely help out a full-timer, or as much of a full-timer as one could expect in these days. Whether he's full-time or not is in question, in fact, because the application wasn't complete, and I don't know, and Mr. Salerno wasn't able to, he seems to have seen some contradictory information, whether he was or wasn't, or maybe was and now isn't. Although I would lean toward an East Lyme resident, therefore I'll support the, if a motion came forward with Mr. Lizza, Joel, I would support that. But it's most likely it's just, we asked for information that we didn't get, and that's, we can't make a decision on any other. We can't make a decision on that if we don't have the information. Lastly, and I respect Dan's opinion on this and his viewpoint. I don't think these are leases like one rents an apartment. I think they're more like a 3-year contract or a term, much like you lease a car. And at the end of the lease, you turn in the car, and maybe you get another car, or maybe you buy this car, but you reevaluate. This is, again, not a lifetime appointment here, not a lifetime lease, and I think we should be reevaluating from time to time. So, and you know what? We did reevaluate the Mr. Stepsky's application. And yes, he's paid his rent on time, but he's also making his living that way. And I wish we had more information on Mr. Beebe. So my 2 cents. But I don't see this as an eviction as much as reworking our definition of who we want down there, and or going back to the intended purpose of what we want down there, which is full-time fishermen, may or may not be from town, with extra points if they're from town, for sure. So that's my 2 cents.
Mark, just to add to that, I will note that the 2 applicants, Russell and Liza, have applied many times in the past. And while I totally see where Dan's coming from, my other take is, if we're never going to change it, then we keep putting the application out. It doesn't seem sincere. So we have an application that meets most of our criteria. That's why I'm leaning toward that. I will add that we did discuss with the 4th dock. I know we don't have anything official with the 4th dock, but I know we are allowing fishermen to use that to unload and load equipment. We had some public comment from one of the fishermen down there saying that that's one of the big deals, is to be able to unload and load as first fishermen. So whoever we decide not to go with, I would request that we do allow them to use that 4th dock to load and unload as long as the state allows us.
Yes, well, yes, I don't know if it's accessible right now because of the bridge painting that's going on. I did have that discussion with you, Mr. Salerno, offline, that there's a little confusion with that fourth dock, and let's just clear it up for the record. There's no guarantee that fourth dock is coming back into town property. It does, part of it does sit under the bridge or under the bridge right of way, which is not allowed by the state. That, you know, you have a bridge and then you have a dock, and what if the boat catches on fire and not a good scene. So we will go back and forth once the bridge project is done to see if we can get that dock secured. In the meantime, while we were waiting for the bridge project to happen, I was approached by several of the fishermen, said, can we use that fourth dock to load and unload? And I kind of made a handshake deal with some of these fellows, and that will continue if it's available and it's allowable. No overnights, no tying up for hours, but come on in, load your stuff, unload your stuff, and move on. That seems to have been very successful for many people. We can satisfy more people that way.
Right.
But obviously we're going to find a permanent dockage somewhere else. I don't know if that's going to be available or not. I don't know if it's available right now or not. I don't know if that curtain that comes down with the bridge painting is even in the way and allows for that to happen. But more to come on that. We'll secure that once the bridge is done. Thank you for letting me point on that. Is there a motion?
This is Kevin Siri. I'll move it to enter into a lease with Michael Stepsky, Tartan 2, for lease premises number 2, Cheney Park Fishing Dock, to be effective January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, at a rate of $3,000 payable in 2 installments on January 1st, 2021 and July 1st, 2021, and to authorize the first selectman to execute said lease.
Mark Salerno, I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Ayes have it, 6-0.
Okay, for the second one, this is Kevin Siri. I'll move to enter into a lease with Joel Lizza of Sea Otter Fishing and Charter, Inc., for lease premises number 3, Cheney Park Fishing Dock, to be effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, at a rate of $3,000 payable in 2 installments on January 1, 2021 and July 1, 2021, and to authorize the first selectman to execute said lease.
Second, Paul Daigle.
Motion and seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
I'm opposed. Dan Cunningham.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, Dan. Understand. So it's a 5-1 vote. And thank you again. The 3 of you with the subcommittee, you met a couple times, and not always easy to put that together. So thank you. Thank you all. The next thing on our agenda is appoint a subcommittee to review unaffiliated benefits. Speaking of subcommittees, and generally Roseanne and the deputy first selectman sets off on that. So could I appoint you two again to help us with the we don't call it negotiation, we call it a discussion and agreement with the unaffiliated workers in our town.
I would be happy to serve.
As would I.
Thank you both. You've done a remarkable job in my tenure of serving, and Roseanne, you've done this for years and years and years. There's well, we'll talk offline, and I'll set you up on what's going on and some of the other union contracts that are either renewing or up for renewal, and we'll discuss that and a couple ideas that have been tossed around. But thank you for serving. We'd like to get this done early, before the budgets come out. It's been pointed out that it's a lot easier when we're putting the budgets out there if the GWI especially is already baked into each individual budget. rather than sitting in a wage contingency. It's helpful for you folks. It's helpful for the Board of Finance. It's helpful for the citizens that look over a budget and see, rather than this big double or triple chunk come in every couple of years, that it comes steady. So we'd like to see that done. We'll, if that can be done in January, that'd be helpful. And I know the leaders of that group will be anxious to meet with you. Thank you. Communications. There.
Do you want
none in your
to,
packet.
Mark, do you want to make a motion to appoint that committee? Because we usually do.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
I thought it was in my, not power, that's the wrong word, but I thought that was part of my responsibility, just to appoint subcommittees. But I'll do that. Let's do that. I'll make a motion. Well, I won't do it. Lorno, or...
This is Kevin Torrey. I'll move to.
No, don't make the motion, Kevin. You're on the subcommittee.
Hmm.
This is Mark Salerno. I'll move to appoint Kevin Siri and Roseanne Hardy to the subcommittee to review unaffiliated benefits for fiscal year 21-22.
Perfect.
Second, Paul Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. Daigle. Going right as planned. Any comments? Again, thank you for your service. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? We'll go right into ex officio reports. Mr. Daigle.
Inland Wetlands was canceled this week. Harbor Management met last night, excuse me. Just nothing particular there, except they're looking forward to, the outcome of the boundary discussion that you and are having with, you and maybe town legal are having with Waterford. So I told them I'd get them a status at their next meeting. So
Yeah.
that's all they had for me to bring back to you. They did re-elect their officers. They stayed the same. So they're looking forward to serving for another year.
Great. To update you on that, I talked to First Selectman Brule over in Waterford. Obviously, with COVID and all that's gone on, we've kind of just it backburnered. It's been on the back burner far too long. So we both agreed we'll meet right after the holiday and pick up the pieces and try to put that together. So our apologies to Harbor Management Commission and all those people that are affiliated with what's going on there. Okay. So
And the building committee's meeting tomorrow night, so I don't have an update from them.
Yeah, you'll have a good meeting tomorrow night, and then and we'll get an update next time on the progress of the building, of the public safety building. That's wonderful, Mr. Salerno.
Only thing I have is planning had a special meeting to close out a couple of public hearings. They were both closed. One was voted on. I believe they voted on the Black Point application in favor of it, subdivision, and then I think they closed the hearing on the Upper Patagonia area application. I forget the street name, and they'll be deliberating that at the next meeting. That's it.
Mr. Daigle, you also had an inland wetlands meeting on Monday night, but that was canceled. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I did mention that when I started my ex officio report.
Sorry. And we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yep.
Mrs. Harding?
Commission on Aging, their request tonight was for the laptop, and they have about 6 programs going on right now with online programs, online exercising, but nothing going on within the building itself. So it's all remote. So they're hopeful that with the laptop that they'll also be able to be more efficient and get perhaps a couple of other instructors on board so that they can begin to restore some of the programs that they've had to cancel. Of course, many of the instructors, even though it's online, just aren't receptive to running the program that way. So this will be a big help for them. On another note, I noticed, would like to comment that I've been out and about for a few days, and I've noticed that the police have come around and tagged a lot of vehicles that are inappropriately parked using the town roads for parking. And I believe we have an ordinance. I didn't have time to look it up today, but I believe we have an ordinance that prohibits that. So the police have tagged the cars because of the upcoming storm to have them moved. But I'm aware of several areas where people have more vehicles than will fit on their property, and they're regularly using the town roads for parking, for extended parking. And so I think perhaps we should review that ordinance. I believe it's our ordinance. I don't think it's a zoning regulation, but I'll see if I can follow up on that. So the police have been out and about, as I said. I've noticed them around, and also noticed over the past couple of days our highway crews out just surveying the scene and getting things ready. So I think it's good to see, for people to see that our people are out and, taking care of things that sometimes we don't think about them doing. It's not just picking up the recycling and barrels. They do a lot of other things on the side. So that's it for me tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy. Mr. Cunningham.
I have nothing to report this evening, but I've been having a conflict with Brookside Farm Commission. They've been having their meetings on Wednesday nights, and I've got to get that resolved. So, and they're not using Zoom. They've had some, weather was nice. They had outdoor or in the barn meetings, and I can't be there and then get to the Zoom meeting here. So I got to talk with them, see if we can resolve that the time conflict.
Yeah, I think that's been a problem of theirs for many, many years. Is that that's when they meet? Is when we meet? Yeah.
But it wasn't before though. So I think that at some point it changed. So try to get that resolved. But I think Wellsco is meeting this week, and I'll be attending that meeting.
Great, thank you, Dan. Mr. Sealy.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, I'll leave. I'm sure you're going to cover the light parade, correct? Under your report. Okay, I won't even mention that, although except for it was fantastic. Parks and Rec met last week, and they elected a new chair, Tom Beebe, and a vice chair, Pat Larkin, taking over for Bob Fanner, who had been chair for as long as all of us can remember, and did a fantastic job. And they've talked about recognizing his dedication and performance, once COVID abates and we can have a nice event for him. Same thing for Roger Nadeau as well, who was the vice chair for a long time. And that's it. They've talked about a couple of things. There's a group that would like to look at putting in a disc golf park up in the Darrow's Park at Darrow's Ridge area, up by Darrow's Pond. And they're going to the Parks Rec Commission is going to come up with an official request to have that 100 acres, which is set aside up at Darrow's Pond for recreation, that actually turned over to Parks and Rec by the town at an upcoming meeting, probably early next year. That's it.
Well, that would be an interesting discussion. Bob Fanner has done a remarkable job as chair over the years. For someone to be on a commission and even lead it for that many years, as long as I remember. Thank you, Bob, for your service. And I look forward to, hopefully the Parks and Rec Commission will come up with a suitable honor for him, and I'd be happy to be involved with that for sure. I got to give a proclamation on your behalf to Vic Vicari, who turns 100 this week sometime, or right after Christmas, somewhere in there. Maybe it's the 22nd, but it's coming up. But they had a little celebration a little early last Sunday at St. John's Church, and he's 100 years old, and my gosh, he marched straight up to the altar to get his proclamation, and God bless him. He loves to travel. Of course, nobody's traveling right now, but he hopes to go back to the Amalfi Coast before he goes over the Rainbow Bridge someday. But he's just a great guy and very dedicated fellow in many aspects in our town. So I congratulate him on a life well lived and continues to serve our town and his community. God bless. Light Parade was spectacular. So many people stepped up and did so much work. It was a lot of work because a lot of the floats, if you will, were really inflatables that the Parks and Rec rented from another facility and did it themselves, you know. So there's a lot of work that went in and setting this up all day. Kevin, I understand you were there most of the day.
Yeah, I was there. I got there about 12:30 and helped Dave because obviously there's a lot of it was actually a lot of fun. I left at about 20 of 9, and over 1,400 cars went through. It was just fantastic. Just to interrupt you for a minute, people dropped off 3 pickup trucks full of food and toys for Care and Share, and over 4,000 in cash donations for Care and Share. So just a really positive thing too. And Dan Cunningham was on one of the floats too, and everybody just commented how fantastic an event it was.
Thanks, man.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Good job, Spaceman. And yes, I think they were overwhelmed at Karen Share that, you know, they brought a pickup truck with them, and then that got filled, and then they started having to just build a big pile of food on the ground next to it, and then another truck came, and then another. And people just dropping off $20 bills because it was just you know, we have a giving community, and this is a tough time for many people out there. So it's nice to see that happen. And the light parade itself, I mean, once all the cars were finally gone after 4 hours of a long line, the Parks and Rec crew then, after being there all day, had to take it all down and pack it up, and they did that as well. So my hat's off to Dave Putnam and his entire crew. You know, we made something out of nothing. This has been a tough year. So lemonade out of lemons, if you will. So good for them. That's my report. I wish everyone peace and serenity and tranquility and love thy neighbor and all that that goes along with that. It's been a tough year for many. It's been a tough year for everybody, not many. Everybody has been affected this year, and I have a feeling 21 is going to be a good year. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll meet you on the other side of the holidays. The first Wednesday of January we'll be meeting. I think that's the 4th or the 6th, somewhere in there. So that's my report. There's nobody from the public here, so we can adjourn.
Now you want to have the executive session.
Oh yeah, right. So we'll go to an executive session.
Okay, I'll move to enter into executive session for personnel item at 8:13 p.m.
Mark Salerno, second.
Great. Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any abstain? Okay, Sandy, thank you for your service tonight.
I'll let you know, Sandy, the time to come out too.
I'll talk to you in the morning.